Well, welcome everyone to our final podcast of the year. We are down a man today. We are without our point guard, our quarterback, our leader, Scott. So you are listening to the Three Angry Giant Fan and a Jet Fan podcasts with your host today, Angry Jet Fan Novak, Giant Mike and Cardone. And there you heard at the opening the Numenium for Seinfeld to is symbolic for New Year's. So really excited about the new year, and that was one of my favorite episodes. Can't beat that. Kramer and Newman talking about the Numenium.
Yeah, it was awesome. I hadn't seen that in a long while, so when I got the preview of it there, I was dying. Very funny stuff.
I love how Newman declares the next millennium must be Jerry free.
Jerry free.
But he's my buddy.
Awesome.
Yeah, that he may be.
Yeah, so we're without Scott, our leader. You know, I got to tell you, I was like, I volunteered to do this. This sucks. Like, I don't want this job. It is so much easier just to hang back and let Scott do all of this, and then we just answer questions as they go. But you know, we're gonna do the best we can. It's like I told you guys, it's like playing a game without a quarterback. We're just gonna run a bunch of wildcat.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know what Scott does. I just show up each week.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's
like there's a lot of prep for this shit. Like I had to take notes of what am I going to say. And I already think I screwed up the open because I'm supposed to start with talking about the Numenium or whatever, and then whatever, I fucked it up.
We're on it.
It is what it is.
We're good.
Look, guys, we've got a lot to get into today. You know, we're not going to talk about it now, but my God, what the hell are the Giants doing winning that game? It's just ridiculous. The Jets are just a disaster. So much to get into, but I guess I'll start it off as Scott always does, when I'm supposed to do that, with a shout out. So I'm going to try it. I don't know that I can get the high pitch like Scott does, but I'm going to do the best I can. You ready?
We're ready.
Hello, Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Yes.
Fort Mill, also known as Fort Mill Township, is a town in York County, South Carolina. It's a suburb of Charlotte. So businesses and residents in the Indian land community of neighboring Lancaster County share a Fort Mill mailing address, but the official town boundary extends only within York County. The town of Fort Mill was established in 1873, getting its name from its location between 2 points. The first, a fort constructed by British in colonial times to protect the Catawba Indians from marauding tribes to the north, and the second point of Webb's Mill. In the 70s and 80s, Fort Mill was home to TV evangelist Jim Bakker. The now defunct Heritage USA, now reopened as Heritage International Ministries. And some famous people in Fort Mill are Ed Curry, the breeder of the world's hottest pepper, the Chili Reaper and Pepper X. Vance Walker, an NFL defensive tackle for the Denver Broncos. And of course, Scott Cost, Chris Cardone, and an adjacent Mike Hisman of the Three Angry Giant Fans podcast are also residents of Fort Mill. But of course, the most important part of Fort Mill is Mulligan's, the bar that we can't talk enough about. So Fort Mill is our shout out for today.
Yeah, Novak, well done, man.
Great one, yeah. That was good stuff. I love that. Like if someone held a gun to my head and said, "Okay, how did Fort Mill get its name?" I love that I would have guessed that. Like on one guess. I don't know. There was a fort in a mill. Maybe is that maybe what
sounds about right? That would make sense. I know that Catawba's around here, Indian. That makes sense.
By the way,
Fort Mill, sweet home.
Having lived in the South Charlotte area since I moved here in late '97, now it's hard to believe it's been 27 years. Fort Mill has an awesome little downtown. It's not much, but I would compare it to my four favorite downtowns in the surrounding South Charlotte area. It's like Pineville, Fort Mill, Waxhaw, and Matthews. We did the live pod in Matthews early, just to kick off the year. Those are just four awesome downtowns around the area that if you haven't been to downtown Fort Mill, check it out. There's a couple cool places to eat and drink and just kind of walk the street there. It's pretty awesome, especially around holiday time right now. It's awesome. So
yeah,
had to give a little plug there.
Yeah, something special about a small town, right? Charlotte's great. Love Charlotte, all that it has to offer for those that listen to us up in the Northeast. I love living in Charlotte, but there's something great about a Fort Mill or a Matthews or a Pineville. I totally agree with Cardone. And that's sort of like what we grew up with, Cardone and Lincroft, same type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, fellas.
And then you got the plug-in. You got the plug-in for Mulligan's too, which is good.
Snuck that one in there.
Mulligan's,
I like it.
That is a classic bar. Great bartenders, great service, good food, great beer, great place to watch a game. Just don't piss off the bartenders there is all I can tell
That's
you.
right. Yeah.
Or
Right.
you're gonna hear about it, which sadly we have done with our Sala every now and then. But
Oh yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. And when it's your time to order, when they come around, be ready to order. Don't pass it up because then you
Be
lose
snappy.
your turn. Yeah.
They do
Yeah.
get a little snappy. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you gotta be snappy. You gotta be on your game in there.
So boys, talk to me. What the hell
Uh.
are the Giants doing? Let's get into this Giants Colts recap. Look, as I see it from the outside, I've been there. Look, I've been in your shoes. You want to lose these games, and I know, Mike, you said after the game you kind of enjoyed the win. This could come back to haunt you. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was. We've talked all year about how we might act in a win. But I was kind of secretly hoping we wouldn't find out. But I think I texted you guys early on in that game, and I said the Giants are going to fuck around and win this game.
Yep.
And they just looked like the better team, even early. They tried to give it away late, which I thought. But my wife asked me around halftime, like, "What do you think? How you feel?" And I said, "You know what? The ideal thing for me in this game is for them to keep looking this good, but just have the Colts come back and beat them like 45-40. That would be ideal because we would have seen some good play. We would have been able to clap and enjoy, which I did, touchdowns and turnovers and all that. I did. I couldn't resist myself. The thing I don't like about it, like my former boss texted me just like an hour before the podcast, and all it said was like, "What are you guys doing?" It's like, guys, he's a Green Bay fan, good dude, but he's like, I just saw someone somewhere that you guys went from a 51% chance to have the number one pick to a 1% chance, which doesn't seem accurate to me. I haven't had the chance to follow up on that and check that out, but that's what he heard. So
yeah,
that's my thoughts.
I couldn't believe what was happening, but we predicted this. Mm-hmm. I thought it may come last week when the Giants started out against Atlanta looking pretty decent, and then we saw the real Giants showed up there. But yesterday was this speaks also. I got to bring up how fucking bad this Indianapolis Colt team is because I don't know anything about the Colts. All I knew is that they were guys when that game started at 1:00. They were still alive for a playoff spot. Yep, they were still in a. How 100%. In the world is that team prepared to play a team that has nothing to play for, the worst team in the league, and they show up with that defense? I tell you, I was made aware of this today. My brother gave me this stat today. I did not know this, but the Colts going into the game, and certainly after yesterday, they lived up to this statistic. They lead the league in missed tackles, and holy shit, did they live up to that yesterday?
Yes, they did.
I mean, you guys know how I feel about the tackling in the NFL anyway. It is absolutely an abomination and atrocious. And think about the 2 touchdowns to Neighbors, and then the one to Darius Slayton I thought was an absolute – that looked like some kind of flag football game or something like that. You heard me murder Darius Slayton last week. That guy doesn't even belong on an NFL field, let alone running free in the secondary for like a 30-plus yard touchdown. When you saw that shit going on, I'm like, oh, my God, the Giants are going to fucking win this game. You knew it. They were going to win. Mm-hmm. Yep. I thought maybe and I love Joe Flacco, by the way. So Flacco, the fact that he's still slinging it around out there at 39 years, I feel like that guy could play another 5 years. I mean, you compare him to the Dick, who's, we'll get into that, Novak. I can't wait to talk about that, too. But Flacco and the offense, aside from Jonathan Taylor dropping what was a sure 2-point conversion to tie that game, I thought maybe I said to my son Cole, I said, as the Giants were trying to blow the game, when Indy scored to cut it to 2, and then we're going for the 2-point conversion, I said, hold on, Giants, they could still blow this game. As good as they were playing at that point, it's still the Giant defense, and it's still the stop somebody defense, but once they, after that, once the Giants then got another 2-score lead, game was over. But honestly, Novak, I definitely had crossed, without a doubt, the line last week because as I'm watching that game and as the Giants are winning, I was actually pissed off, thinking like and the reason why is because we were in the one spot. We were in the number one spot after last week's weekend of games. After the Raiders had won, was it the Raiders? Yeah, Raiders who had beat Jacksonville, I think, last week. Yep. So when you're in the spot, it's like we had it for like 5 minutes and then we let it slip through our fingers again. So now. Everyone knows we're back to like 4th. We'll get into it as we go into the predictions and stuff like that. But my honest reaction was I was kind of pissed off. I mean, I said to Mike before we came on, Novak, I said, because it's the Colts. Who cares? If the Giants had beaten, like, let's say the Dallas Cowboys or the Eagles, even to knock them out of the playoffs, I would feel a little different. I'd feel like, yeah, man, send them home too. But to send the Colts home, who didn't want to win the fucking game anyway, didn't feel like a victory at all. It didn't.
Is there a team you could have cared less about beating than the Colts in the NFL? In all of the NFL, is there a team you could care less about?
That entire South Division, which we've talked about, there were games like that Titan, maybe the Texans because they're decent right now, but that Titan and Jaguar triangle, it's not even the NFL, that division.
It's not. And the thing is, I've heard a lot of people talk about the Giants loss, and they're like, well, but maybe they didn't like a quarterback. It doesn't matter whether you like the quarterback or not. You control what you want to do at number one. If you didn't like Sanders and you didn't like Ward, that's okay. Because you know what? Someone else would. And you would get 2, 3, 4 additional picks. And this win now precludes you from building back your roster, in my opinion. Because I don't love Sanders. I don't love Ward either. But someone will. And someone will overspend and over trade. And you guys could have been much better off at the number 1 pick.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Right now, we've talked about this in years past. Like, everyone that I've talked to or heard of on TV and everything talking about the draft and the quarterbacks available, everyone's lukewarm on everybody right now.
Yeah.
But you get to 2 weeks before that draft, and they'll be talking up 2 or 3 of these guys
100%.
like they're the next Joe Namath. And, that's what happens every year. By the time draft time rolls around, these guys get so pumped up that someone will give you a haul for one of those picks. And yes, especially if we just stand pat and stay at 4, we lose a lot of leverage.
Yep. And you know who's as pissed as you? Me. You know why? Because now the Patriots are in the first spot.
Patriots
in my division. Yeah. They don't need a quarterback. Yep. So they can now play off the Titans and the Browns and the Giants, and they are just going to get a haul for that number 1 pick. And they are now going to be better because of this fucking win that you guys had to win. So thanks.
Yeah. I thought about that too, Novak. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, New England, this team, they won 6 fucking titles. They've won, we know the winning that they've done since, in the last 20 years. I'm thinking, like, they can't be down for a while. They need to somehow just fall ass backwards into the number 1 pick. No. The New York Giants need the number 1 pick. The Giants do. And now the Patriots, like you said, fall back into that, and all 3 of those teams that are it's the Titans. What is the order right now? I had it. It's
Giants,
Browns,
or it's Patriots.
It's New England,
Titans, Browns, Giants.
Yeah, none of those teams are going to win next week. So the Giants at best are stuck in the 4th spot now, which means say they didn't even love Sanders or Ward. Well, now you don't even get fucking Travis Hunter for that 1-2 wild crazy receiver punch. Which I would have been okay with even. Let's say they were let's say the 2 quarterbacks weren't there, but maybe Travis Hunter was there. I was thinking, okay, maybe I could live with that even before yesterday's scenario and all that. And now I feel like they're in this no man's land again.
Yeah, and there's also the thought, well, the Giants could trade up to 1, but if you didn't win that game, you wouldn't have to. Yeah. Because now you got to give up a 2nd round choice or a 1st round choice next year to get up to the 1 to get the quarterback. You didn't need to.
Yeah, that's the most devastating part of it is, 24 hours ago, the Giants were sitting in a position where, like you said, if they don't like the quarterbacks, they could get a bunch of picks to use on a bunch of players over the next couple of years. Instead, now, if we do like one of the quarterbacks, we've got to give up that amount of value in picks to go up there and get it. So it's a double whammy. There's no doubt. But
what also was just uncanny about yesterday's game right from the start. The Giants, and you guys know I love this word. I said it today. I go, they came out of the gate with fervor. The Giants, they did. For Absolutely. What reason? They just did. You could tell right from the get-go that, oh my God, the Giants are playing with energy and fire. You could see it. And the Colts on the other side, even though they grabbed a 3-0 lead, that meant nothing really. I mean, the beginning of the game, the Colts were dead. Defensively, they were dead. I guess, again, Flacco and that offense played to win. But how – and all you have to do is look at the fucking final score. The Giants, they barely sniffed 45 yards in some halves this year, let alone 45 points.
Yeah.
Drew Lock had like a perfect passer rating. Drew Lock. Anybody see the film from last week of this guy in Atlanta? And then for him to go out there and throw like a 155 passer rating, what in the world? I don't know who's the Colt defensive coordinator, who these people are. These guys should be fucking fired.
Yeah, they're awful. They are absolutely awful. I did my Cardone impression, like after Flacco's like third touchdown pass. I'm like, look at this guy. Look at this guy, Drew Lock. Look at out here throwing darts. Look at this guy.
Drew Lock on the last one that he ran in, that was a third down play. Indianapolis is sending a 4-man, no man, like nothing rush. They're sitting in a soft zone on the 5-yard line. Drew Lock is running like a 8-second scramble to somehow find himself in the end zone. I'm scratching my head like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
well, and that's what you do want to ask that. Forget the draft picks. Forget all of that for 1 second. Where was this all year? Like, you played worse teams than the Colts. Why, until week 16, whatever it is, did they show up like that?
I don't know. No idea. The one thing you see a lot of people talking about, and what, I know we all understand this, but I don't think a lot of people generally, know nothing fans out there, I don't think they understand this. The players are never trying to tank.
No.
Most of the time, the coach.
No.
Most of the time, the coach isn't even trying to tank. If the tank comes from the owner when they start shaving players away and doing things like that. So, if you thought the Giants were good earlier in the year, then why can't they do something like this? I mean, I was more baffled by the 9-game losing streak than most, but we didn't have a quarterback. Now for 1 week, we have a guy show up and play NFL caliber quarterback, and everything comes together, and we score 44 points and win a home football game.
But it was also the way they were scoring that was cracking me up. The whole thing, like I'm looking at the game summary now. Like, Neighbors is scoring on a wide receiver screen, which we usually can't even get positive yards on that play. He's just scrambling down to Wan'Dale Robinson on third down is wide open. Like, like he was like he's playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. Neighbors then again scores, just from 59 yards out. Just the Colts refused to tackle the guy. We're returning kickoffs for touchdowns. What the fuck was going on? You talk about, that was the absolute bizarro Jerry episode yesterday. Everything was backwards.
It was.
The kickoff was funny because, the Colts scored right at the end of the first half. And that was like, okay, all right, here we go. Colts coming out.
Calm down, everyone.
Calm down.
Like, here we go. The Giants will get a 3-and-out, and this game will be tied in the first 3 minutes of the first half. And as he crosses the 50, I'm like, you got to be shitting me today. What is going on?
You know what's funny about the kickoff? I was watching Multiview, at home at YouTube TV, and you got the fortune. And I had two. I was flipping back and forth between two Multiviews, and I had the wrong one on to start the second half. So I look at my phone, and I see the Giants 28-13. I'm like, wait a minute, that's got to be a misprint. What happened here? I flip back. I go, holy God. I'm like, God damn it, the Giants just scored a touchdown. I had the wrong Multiview on.
Oh, it makes you wonder. Maybe Dable is no good. Maybe Dable was calling a game trying to throw it, and instead we put up 44 points.
I don't get it, man.
Who knows?
It's bizarre. And look, I'll transition with this story. Look, in December 20th, 2020, the Jets were 1-13 playing the Los Angeles Rams in a meaningless game. They had the number 1 pick locked up, and they somehow beat the Rams to end the season 2-14. And the Jacksonville Jaguars got the number 1 pick Trevor Lawrence, and who do we get? We reach for Zach Wilson. These wins change the trajectory of your organization. It does. And I'm not saying that it's doom and gloom. I'm not saying that at all. But you see what happens. And now we get Zach Wilson. He's terrible. We got to get rid of that. We go to the Dick that blows this thing up. It sets your organization back 10 years. And that's what it did for the Jets. It's not going to happen with the Giants. They're a better organization. But that's what could potentially happen.
Oh, I mean, there's a great cautionary tale.
It totally
really is.
I don't know.
I wish someone had told the Giants that before the game.
No, Novak, I feel I might have to disagree there only because this field, the Giants field, this has been going on for a long time now, many, many years. When you go back to 2011 season, we're on year 4. I know the Jets are still outpacing the Giants in that regard, but as fellow Knicks fans, you and I, we the Knicks, they're finally good, thank God. Yep. But 20 years of the same kind of bullshit. I'm kind of getting into a point I want to bring up later. It's not really my pet peeve, but where I'll bring it up right now. where I feel like this. I'm one of these people obsessed with the tankathon thing, and like the NFL, I think may need to make a change and go like to the NBA structure,
100%.
like where.
Yep.
So okay, I don't want to get too much into it though. Like where I give me the fucking ping pong balls.
Yep.
You know, with where yesterday instead of desperately, hoping the Giants lose, which is absurd and it just goes against everything in as far as your fandom, where where I can't even enjoy the 45-point outbreak against the Colts because I'm sitting there obsessed with losing the number one pick. Where like if it was a ping pong ball system like the NBA, the true tankathon goes away, and you have this scenario where okay, we went from a 25% chance of getting the number one pick down to 21%. I could live with that and still and enjoy the win yesterday. And that way, like okay, we lost one ping pong ball in the pile. But I was going to make my point about the Knicks with the Giants falling back to fourth, and then I'll get into my predictions. Like obviously, when we do that, I have a feeling they're going to win next week. Jay could drop as far down as like ninth. This is like the Knicks when like they couldn't, they were drafting fucking Kristaps Porzingis like every year because they could not get the number one pick. It's the same bullshit. Where you're picking 7th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and like you're getting just guys that they're not good enough to really change the fortunes of a team. They're not.
You've got to get lucky for them to be good enough. Yeah. There's been plenty of people drafted 7th, 8th, 9th, 11th, any number who have changed the trajectory of an organization, but you got to get lucky at that point. It's not, you're not taking someone who's the consensus best player to have out there. It changes everything.
Yep. Well, on the other side of the coin and the other side of Met Death, we have my ridiculous, sad, disgusting joke of a fucking franchise in the Jets. Just got their asses handed to them in the most disgusting way. I got nothing left. I say it every week. I have nothing left for this team. I don't know how to even break down this game other than they were incredibly embarrassed. Their first two drives, they went right down the field. And this pod, beats it like a dead horse, didn't kick a field goal both times. Went on fourth down, got stopped both fourth downs. And before you know it, it's 15, 16, nothing, whatever it was, game over. These organizations just don't know what the hell they're doing. I think they honestly, like I said last week, all the Jets cared about was getting Rodgers' 500th touchdown. I hope that fucker doesn't get it. I really don't.
I hope not.
Screw it, because that's all he cares about. It was just an embarrassment yet again. It's just sad. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch any of that game. It was gross.
Well, I was watching it because you made the prediction that he would get his record and then tweak a hamstring or something.
Yeah.
And when it got later in the game, I'm like, we're not even going to get to see if that would happen. He's not gonna get a touchdown. Yeah.
Well, he looked old. It was bad.
I was trying to flip back and forth a little bit, Novak. So I caught some of it, and it was just like, to your point, that game was so gross that even just for like neutral entertainment factor, I could barely stomach watching that game. Really, it was like one of those where you can't even. It's painful, literally painful to watch, like a real football team, and then the Jets and what what they brought to the field. It's insane how that's the same. These teams are in the same league. They're in the same division. It doesn't even look like they belong on the same planet.
No, and it was, whether it was 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 17, didn't matter. No. Josh Allen was getting a first down. It just, that stinking feeling, like
no stopping it.
You should feel like when you have 3rd and 15, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11, we're getting off the field. I never thought once that whole game that they're gonna punt, that this is over. They're gonna stop them here. Never once.
I thought you were gonna bring up
frustrating.
Yeah, I thought you were going to bring up the record I thought you were going to bring up was the all-time most sacked quarterback is now the Dick.
It is.
And what's great about it occurred on a safety too.
I know.
You know what was, and again, what little I saw of the game, I was flipping around, I was watching some of the other, actual NFL games, real teams and stuff. On that particular play, Novak, I don't know if you noticed, but when the Dick got dumped on that safety, Two of his offensive lineman teammates. You know how the offensive linemen always go over to help up the quarterback and snatch.
They did.
I don't know if you noticed. They didn't even. I don't know who it was.
I did notice that.
You did? Okay, good.
Yep.
I wasn't the only one to notice that. I looked at it and I go, there's an absolute sure sign. I don't care what you tell me that there's something where when the lineman is standing right there, he looks down, sees his quarterback on his ass, and does not even so much as like give him the old token like shoulder pad, get up off the ground. He just fucking turned around and went to the sidelines. I'm like, wow, what does that tell you? What does that tell you?
I think for sure, and I saw that, and it was Max Mitchell, and I think the reason that he did that, I think he would help him up. I think he thought Rodgers would show him up. Like, get away from me, you loser. And in the Dick's defense, like, you guys experienced this with Evan Neal, and this is what I don't understand. Didn't these, I mean, I know they're backup tackles. Didn't they play college ball? Don't they know how to just stand in front of someone?
Get in the way. Get in the way of somebody.
Just get in the way. Block them for a momentary 2 seconds. Yeah. Look, and this is a 5'9" guy saying this. These guys are 6'5", 320. Can't you just stand there?
Yeah.
Just
hold somebody.
I know.
Like, they're not going to call it on every play. Yeah, exactly.
And one small note also with this game. And I know there's backups in all over the place at this point for Buffalo and everything, but I love the fact. I mean, the Jets are down 40 to Dick in this game, and all of a sudden Tyrod Taylor comes in and they get two touchdowns to end the game with Taylor under center. How does that happen? It's not just this game. You see that all the time where a team is just getting absolutely embarrassed, demolished. And then all of a sudden the backup comes in, he just trots down the field, albeit against other backups. Fair. But it still seems to happen all the time. It's just hilarious. It just adds a little bit more to just the insult to injury there.
Totally. But you do remember, right, Cardone, that he's the best backup in football.
That's true.
From last year, yeah.
We did. That's right.
Not after watching Drew Lock.
Oh,
He might be the best backup in football. No, I do think though the Dick might be the most hated player in the NFL. And I there is this cynical part of me that thinks the Bills were like, oh, Taylor's in? Fuck it, let him score now. Let the Dick look even worse.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's diabolical.
Of course, I'm thinking of all these crazy thoughts, but, it was just a disaster yet again. And look, I picked the game to be 34-7. I was pretty damn close. So I think that's my pick. I think that's what it was, Mike. But anyway.
You had 34-7. Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was something like that.
Yeah.
So that's
back in the day. I'm sorry, Novak. Let me get one more thing in there because you just said something, and I'm like, man, he's so right about that. There is nothing worse when your team is bad if it's bad on defense. Yep. That is the most. I would rather my team be terrible on offense with a decent defense, and we're losing games 17-9 and 14-3. Because that is such a hopeless feeling when you can't get off the field. It is excruciating to watch.
It is
100%.
Yeah,
it's every time it's a backbreaker, and every time you think this sure as hell can't happen again, and it does, and it's just like
at some point you're just like begging the laws of averages. Like they can't complete the third and over 15. It's just the averages say you don't do that. And, you're not even counting on your team to make the stop, just the universe to make the stop for you.
Totally.
But as now we're going around, going around the league a little bit, but just watching games, I can't think of a particular play or even a game because you flip around and watch so much of this stuff, like at least I do. And why is it that there's so many, you think 3rd and 15s, I don't know what the percentages is anymore, but I don't know if you guys, is it me or is it just those? That used to be almost an automatic get off the field.
Yep.
And now it's like, not only is it not automatic get off the field, it almost is at a minimum.
50-50.
It's always that 12 and 13 yard play where they end up going for it and then getting it, and drives keep saying, like, as much as of these offenses and quarterbacks, like the play is down, the offenses stink, they need the officials' PIs and other penalties on defense to keep drives going. Why does it always seem like 3rd and 15, these teams have no problem picking up these 3rd down conversions now? What is that in this league where defenses can't get off the field?
I don't know, and you know that back in the day, not even that many years ago, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 14, the offense would just run. They would just hand it off.
Yeah,
to try to get
no
eight more yards, knowing that there's no chance. Now everyone's going for it.
going for it.
Yeah,
But
every time. And getting it.
And what bothers me now is, again, like those handoffs, and you still see that sometimes, Novak, with the third, but they always go for 10 yards. Those the third and 15 always goes for 10.
Yep.
And then it's like, fourth and 5, decision time they're keeping the offense on the field, and it drives me nuts. I like to see defenses get off the field. I'm one of those guys. I don't mind. I'm not saying I want to see a 6-3 game like we saw, with Seattle. Now, I'm not saying that. But for God's sakes, I want to see defenses rise up, make stops. It drives me nuts all the time. One of my biggest pet peeves every week, every year is whoever has the ball last is going to score. Where are the 11 defenders to stop these guys? There is a defense out there. Why is it automatic? Why now? I mean, we saw it last year with 13 seconds is too much time now for offenses to score a tying or game-winning touchdown. What's not enough time anymore? 3 seconds? When is the game over?
Yeah, we've talked about before how it seems these days. It used to be, remember, if you started a drive deep in your own territory, they'd be like, oh, just get 2 first downs and punt. That's a successful drive.
Yes,
Remember that?
you're right.
People used to have that cliche.
Try to flip the field position.
Yeah.
Yep.
You never hear that anymore. Hell, it seems like offenses get the ball. There's one pass completion. They're at midfield.
Yeah.
Every team is playing from midfield all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and if you have a halfway decent defense, my favorite play is the punt and pin. Right?
Yes.
Like punt them and get them inside the 10, and I am pumped.
Yeah.
Now everyone's going for it, on the 45, 50 yard line. Just because that you flip the field, it changes the game. Punt and pin is the best.
Yeah.
And you just don't see it as much anymore.
Because they only really have 2 downs if you pin them, because they're going to run right up the middle on the first play and just get stuffed. So because that's what happens every time. So I love the coffin corner punt. Oh,
if these offenses and quarterbacks were actually better, we would see more points. We would get what the league is after. And part of the problem is, and I'll bring it up again, and I don't care if I know I'm a broken record here, but if the fucking clock didn't keep running throughout the entire game, right? I think every game would be in the 40s because nobody stops anybody.
Yeah.
No.
So imagine if the clock did stop every time they went out of bounds. I think there would be enough plays and time. Every game would be 35-40. I think everyone.
Yeah.
Because one stops anybody.
Yep.
Great.
So you guys had big win this week. So, you're now you're picking 4th, and you got the Eagles coming up. This is going to be a very interesting game for a number of reasons. Number 1, is Barkley going to play?
Yeah.
And then, what do you think? How do you think this game's going to go for you guys?
Who wants to take that? Me, you, Mike?
Go ahead, Cardone. Yeah, you can start that off.
Yeah. Well, I've been asked this already a number of times in terms of, if I were Sirianni and the Eagles, what would they do? And I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I'm always about team first over individual records, even as a fan. I don't care about the individual record. I would, I may have, if I'm Sirianni, I may have a private conversation with Barkley. Maybe don't bring in teammates and other players and all that bullshit and outside, I'd still have a tough time. Yeah, he could plead with me that he wants to play and break the record and all that. I'd still have a tough time because I, as a coach, I hate to always to go with the, what if he gets hurt kind of bullshit. I hate that. I just like the idea of just playing and what happens kind of thing. But in this scenario, when you have a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl championship, I know they'll have to win a couple games on the road in the playoffs, but the Eagles are good enough to do that. You got to put that shit aside. My thing would be go break it next year, man. Not when we're trying to get, go. You have next year, the year after. We'll worry about breaking it then. I'm not worried about some individual rushing record. I would sit him. I would sit the guy and not play him. That would be as far as the Barkley strategy. Now, who knows what's going to happen? If it may change. My prediction is still I'm probably going to pick the damn Giants to win this game. I think unbelievably. The Eagles they've locked up the 2 seed. They can't get a 1 seed, and they can't drop any lower. So again, there's that situation that we kind of dreaded if we were looking at Tankathon, which we are, and now the Eagles have nothing to play for. who are they going to? And Hurts is coming off. He's still in concussion protocol. Who's going to play for the Philadelphia Eagles this week?
Yeah,
I think it's Pickett, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to. They're not.
But I mean, as far as even like all stars.
Oh yeah.
Like
I don't think anybody.
And if the Giants play at all like they did yesterday, they easily could beat the Eagles. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, the Eagles are better. The Eagles' backups are probably a better defense than the Colts' first-string defense. So
well, that's true.
Yeah. So who knows about how that will go? But yeah, I agree. I just think I agree with you a lot, Cardone, on what you just said. I think you got to put this in Barkley's hands.
Yeah.
I would have a private conversation with Barkley, and I would say, I want to rest you. I don't want you to play this week. If you want that record, we'll go get it for you. But you better do it in 3 quarters.
I was going to say, maybe he does it. I was just going to say, Mike, maybe he does it by halftime. He could.
Yeah.
I mean, if you hand him the ball, 20 times, he would. I don't think. Are the Giants able to stop him 5 yards a carry, less than that, over 20 carries in one half? He could do that, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are the Giants smart enough to put 9 in the box? No, they're just too dumb.
What does he need?
100. I think he only needs 101.
So it's not like he needs 15 yards.
Yeah,
it's still 100 yards.
I know.
I agree with Cardone. I don't think he's going to play, and I sure as hell would not play him. Yeah. He's playing against his former team. There's a little bit of a
incentive there. It is.
There's some incentive there. I'm not saying they're going to try to hurt him or anything like that, but they're going to go a little harder at him.
They're going to play hard. They're going to play hard.
You would think they would want to shut that down. If you're the Giants, you do not want him breaking that record. I believe, right? I mean, you would think.
Yeah, not against them. Absolutely not. So I think they'd be stupid to play him. If it were 15 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, okay, fine.
Yeah.
101 yards, I don't know, man. I think that would be dumb knowing you're the number 2 seed. You're probably the best team in the NFC. And if he goes down with an ACL or anything.
Oh, my God.
Any kind of injury. I mean, all it takes is a sprained ankle.
They're done. They're not winning anything without him.
I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I'm Sirianni or anybody on that staff, and he would to go down. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a devastating injury. The guy could sprain an ankle. He could sprain a hand. Wrist, whatever.
Anything.
That way, anything. And you want him at 100% full capacity the following week. I got to think about the team if I'm, part of the staff and even the owner, whoever, and that's tough decision. I don't know why this particular record. I know it hasn't been, Eric Dickerson said it exactly 40 years ago, so I know it's a long-standing record, but I don't know. It's different than. It's a key. Yeah, it's definitely a pretty significant record, but I don't think it's one that you risk everything for this. If they had nothing to play for, absolutely, of course,
totally.
But
and Barkley has an out, right? He could come off as the great guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I care about this team. I want to win a Super Bowl. It's what's best for us. Eric Dickerson, one of the all-time greats, did it in 16 games.
Yeah.
Right? He has the ability to walk away and look like perfect by saying that's the right thing to do. I'm very curious to see what happens with this.
So. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I think if Saquon Barkley is who I think it is, and he's done stuff throughout this season that makes me think he is this guy, he's going to say, I will do what my coach tells me to do.
Yep.
And if he wants to set him, Barkley's never going to gripe. And you made the great point about 17 games. I mean, Barkley can't break Dickerson's record. Dickerson did it in 16 games. Barkley came up 100 yards short.
Yep.
So if Barkley is who I think he is, I think that's on his mind. Do I even want this record with the asterisk next to it that says it took me 17 games to get it? I think that they have to sit him down.
Agreed.
I think if he's out there, if we see him out there, it is 100% that he begged his way onto the field.
Yep. Agreed. So for the Jets upcoming this week, we have the Dolphins. Believe it or not, the Dolphins are still in it. It's just unbelievable, but they're still in the hunt. They have to win, and the Broncos have to lose. And if that happens, the Dolphins get in. The Broncos play the Chiefs. Chiefs will have their backups in there, but they're playing at the same time. So it's not like the Broncos are going out at 4:00. With knowing what the outcome is. So they have a lot to play for. My question for this game is, who the hell is going to a 4 o'clock game at MetDef to watch the
Oh,
Jets and the Dolphins and the week 17 or 18, whatever this is? I mean, come on. Who is going to
gonna
this
be
game?
and it's gonna be
Freezing out
cold
there.
again.
Oh,
Yeah, it's gonna be
Freezing
cold.
cold. Last game of the
Yeah.
year. They suck ass. No one cares. They're interviewing Riverboat Ron for head coach. It's a disaster organization. Who the hell is going to this MetDef on Sunday?
That's gross. Other than
It's
just I mean that's a classic drunk fest. Go yell. What if you want to wear a paper bag kind of game, that could be fun, I suppose. But yeah, I mean that is a horrific live
so
event. I mean, it's just and I know how much you
Horrific.
hate the Dolphins too, Novak, but
uh,
it's yeah, and I knew the Dolphins were still alive. I'm trying to look at the scenario. Again, we were looking at there's a couple scenarios, obviously
yeah.
playoff implications going into this final weekend here, but
Broncos, Dolphins,
well, the Bengals, I guess they need
Bengals.
the Bengals to lose maybe too, I think, or maybe not. No, I think Miami just needs to win, and I think just a Denver loss is all. Yeah.
Cincinnati.
It's Cincinnati who needs everything. They need
Cincinnati needs the Dolphins to lose, the Broncos to lose, and they need
and
to
they
win.
got to win. That's right. Yeah. So it's Cincinnati who's less control of their destiny there. But I don't know. I mean, as far as predictions for this game, I mean, now I saw Tyler Huntley running around yesterday for the Dolphins. Is who's back? Who's actually going to be playing quarterback? This team is still alive in the playoffs. Is Tua out?
I honestly don't know. Is he out?
I don't know. Huntley was playing quarterback yesterday.
Well, I think he was in because there was a blowout, but I don't know the story.
No, Tua wasn't dressed, I don't think, yesterday,
really?
right? I don't think he was dressed.
I didn't watch that game, to be
Yeah.
honest. It was what a horrific game, Dolphins and Browns. I wasn't going to spend 2 seconds
again,
watching that.
The only interest I had was somehow, my God forbid, could Cleveland somehow win to get to 4 wins and they would draw ahead of the Giants? But of course, that wasn't going to happen.
No.
No. So yeah, it was gross. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I'm counting on the Browns first of all to try to get a win, and then I saw Tyler Huntley running around, just bad football. I'm like, God, this is just awful. Didn't even realize why he was on the field, but I saw him come off after one of the scores, Miami, and I saw Tua like in a sweatshirt. I think I don't even know what the hell's wrong with him.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, it's funny as we're doing this podcast, all I keep thinking to myself is Scott's going to listen to this and want to critique my ass for this, trying to keep you guys on track. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Mike to go through predictions here.
All right, predictions. I'm more prepared this week than I usually am, which is a good thing. So last week we all went 1-1 because I picked the Giants and the Jets for that matter.
Right.
My score pick for the Giants was 7-6, so I missed just a little bit on that.
Yeah.
And then 34-7 was Novak's pick for the Buffalo. That was really close to 27-17, 31-16 for Cost and Cardone, respectively. So the new records coming in to this week are Novak 24-10, Cost 23-11, Cardone 23-11, Hispin 20-14. So I can't catch anybody. So my picks will be straight up.
Well, we still got the playoffs though.
We can do picks and playoffs.
We do.
Yeah.
We picked.
I guess we'll have to ask Scott. I mean, he controls this. Does that mean that we start over and we have a second round, or is this just added on to this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe we do.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out the rules.
Maybe we do a.
All right, so let's start with Novak. Anywhere you want to start?
I'll start with the Jets because I think the Giants game is a little more intriguing. Look, the Dolphins have something to play for. The Jets do not. If you watch that game this past week with the Jets, it is clear they just want this season to be over, as do I. Everyone wants to go play golf, do what they want to do, get the hell out of here. They don't care. They're going to do everything they can to not get injured, and I think the Dolphins have something to play for. I think the Dolphins wipe the floor with them. I'm going to go 31-10 Dolphins. For the Giants, I am really conflicted here. I am really struggling to figure out who I'm going to pick. In a way, I see Cardone's point about the Giants and the Eagles sitting everybody. I also think that it's still a rivalry game. I feel like the Giants got their win. They're going to be breathing a sigh of relief. So I'm going to stick with the Eagles here in a close one, 17-16.
All right. Mr. Koss sent his picks in, And let's see, does anyone have them pulled right up?
I do. He says.
What do you say? What does Scott
He
have?
says Eagles 30, Giants 17, Dolphins 24, Jets 13.
Dolphins.
So he's
20.
got Miami and Philly.
Yep, as did I.
13. Cardone.
This is interesting. I may either like leapfrog you guys in a wild prediction finish here, or maybe just absolutely just.
You could tie me, you could leapfrog me, or you could drop down.
Or I could just blow up here.
The ball is in your court, Cardone.
I know. I may go all in on a wild prediction rant here and just go just for the hell of it, go opposite on both games. What the hell? And just try to come up with a wild. Try to come up with a wild.
Leave this thing since day one, and I lose on the last weekend on a wild Hail Mary.
Because on the regular season, I can't fall behind Hisman, so like I can't end up in last place. I may as well go balls out and just
might as well.
You know, it's funny. When I wrote down the scores, I have no reason for these scores other than just trying to be fancy here. I have both the Jets and the Giants winning 19-16. Somehow I end up writing down the same score for both games. I don't know how that happened.
That's an odd score to boot.
I know. Just a field goal fest or whatever. And I just and really part of the I'll take the Giant game first. Mostly because I want the Giants to lose again, just to even stay in the fourth spot. Because I know even I'd rather still be fourth than eighth or whatever the hell they're going to end up. So now what am I saying? I'm taking them to win, right? Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm taking them to win, and I picked them to win, but I really kind of want them secretly to lose. So that would be the saving grace there, I suppose. Whatever. And then for no other reason than the Jets and the Dick somehow, you know, he's going to get his touchdown somehow, somewhere. I see Miami just going up into the cold and for whatever reason pulling like a Colts bullshit where they just still have a chance to slide into the playoffs, and I see them laying an egg for no other reason than just no good reason other than just blowing up in the final game of the season at the hands of the Jets, the lowly Jets, and Miami ruins their chances of any playoff hopes there. So just trying to put a little spin on some of these last couple of games here because I'm trying not to go chalk here. That's all. And see what happens.
Yep. Let's see what happens.
So you're going Giants and Jets both 19-16.
Let me see if I wrote this down right. Yes, I got Giants and Jets both 19-16. I don't know what the hell that is, but yeah. I got both New York teams winning, and both will probably lose, but whatever.
Met definitely won't know what to do with himself.
Right.
2 wins in a row.
Exactly.
I had the Giants and the Jets as well, but Novak talked me out of picking the Jets because I think everything he said was spot on. I think that's a team that hates their quarterback. I think they want to be done with this embarrassment of the season. You know, same as the Giants, actually, no difference there, except I don't think they hate their quarterback. But here's the needle in the haystack. Here's the thing. The Dolphins are going to know when they take the field whether that game means anything to them or not.
I don't think so.
That game's at 4:25.
The Broncos Chiefs play at 4 as well.
No, okay, the Broncos and Chiefs
also.
are playing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
They're both 4 o'clock games. Yeah.
I saw the Bengals play on Saturday.
The Bengals doesn't matter to them.
To them. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so I am going to change my pick there. I'm going to take the Dolphins in that one. And I agree it's might get kind of ugly. I think we're looking at like a 27-10 type of thing. And then I am going to pick the Giants in this game because it's the Philadelphia Eagles. They will fuck us by winning. They will fuck us by losing. It doesn't matter what they have to do to fuck us. Whatever they have to do.
You're right.
That's what I'm thinking also, Mike. I go, this team will screw us again, and the Giants will end up winning.
Just like randomly benching your quarterback in the middle of the fourth quarter because you're winning.
Bringing in Nuck Sedfeld or whoever that was. Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just think, if we were maybe playing someone else, but I think that the Eagles are like, we want no part of the Giants picking in the top 5. We don't, this game means nothing to us. Let's go ahead and kick them, let them go down to 8th.
Let's roll over.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this one is going to be I think the Giants are going to go over 30 again and go 31-24
Wow.
Wow.
in that one. Talk about a devastating win.
Devastating win.
Can't be nearly as devastating as this past Sunday. Just can't.
Yeah. That one took us off because you're right. It's New England, Tennessee, and Cleveland, right? So who do they play?
No, none of them are going to win. New England plays someone that has something.
Now Cleveland plays Baltimore, and Baltimore still needs to win the division. I think.
That's
New England plays the Bills.
The Bills have nothing to play for. I mean,
yeah, that's true. And then Tennessee, they play the Texans.
Texans are locked in
Texans
too, though.
Are locked in too.
They're in that 4 seed. I mean, can't move. You never know. I doubt it.
I do know this, which will make Novak laugh. The Jaguars play the Jets or the Colts this weekend. Just so you know.
Again,
I'm not sure how it's possible, but yeah, Sunday at 1:00. It's the old Jags Colts game.
Unbelievable.
Well, of course, Week 18, the NFL is still going with the all interdivision games, which they've been doing now for years. So we know that. But I was laughing, thinking of us yesterday as just the AFC South are being matched up again. I mean, who was it yesterday? I think it was Titans, Jaguars. I think were playing. I'm just I'm like there's an AFC South every single week.
Yep,
there is.
How can
unbelievable.
That be?
I don't know how I can't believe they're playing, Mike. I cannot believe it.
I was looking so forward to looking ahead and seeing that. I was like, oh God, I hope I know it couldn't be Titans Colts. They've already played 6 times this year. I swear to God, they played 6 times.
Well, guys, going around the NFL a little bit, this was an interesting week because we got into Sunday and we only had, I think, 6 games on Sunday because we had, 3 games on Christmas Day. We had a game on Friday. We had 2 games on Saturday. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I hate the Christmas Day stuff. I really do. I think it's stupid. I didn't want to watch it. And if the Jets were on, it's going to cause a problem for me that I'm going to need and want to watch that game. And I don't want to do that. I'd rather be with my family. I don't need to be watching football. Yeah. I like having basketball on and sort of just checking it out here and there. And they had a great day. And I hate LeBron James. I can't stand him. But I loved what he said when Christmas Day is our day. And he's right. I don't know what your thoughts are on this past week in the NFL, which I thought was one of the worst weeks the NFL has had in a long time.
I couldn't agree more. And the NFL has Thanksgiving, and we all know that, and we all do that, and it's all fine. It's all good. It's a nice way to spend the day. The Christmas thing is then too much. Every major holiday has got to be about families cramming their face in front of a TV now. I mean, come on. It's enough. Not to mention, like that week, it wasn't only I'd be sitting around, my phone would buzz for a score in a game. I'd be like, there's a fucking game on right now? I did that all weekend.
Yep.
I didn't know when these games are, when they're not.
What channel they're on, what streaming thing.
Yeah,
I know.
Netflix. My pet peeve focuses on the Saturday slate of games, so I'll stay away from that. But yeah, it needs to be off Christmas.
Yeah, my biggest pet peeve of within just the Christmas Day game is the fact that it was on Netflix. The fact that Netflix, I was laughing that they were having some streaming issues early that morning. I don't know if you guys were aware of that.
Yep.
Which is awesome. I was hoping that the goddamn power, they would just loot the entire server was on fire, like the Whopper, and they would just lose all stream. That's exactly what they deserve. Any chance to piss LeBron James off is I'm all for, but he's got a point. But then again, LeBron James, who the fuck are you? The NFL, we can do whatever we want. Okay, we're not going to worry. We don't have to check in with you to see if if it's okay. And if first of all, these games were scheduled back in May, LeBron. So you should have known that these games were taking place. But you're right, guys. I mean, it's the oversaturation of the NFL at this point. There's enough bad football on these other other 5 days of the week. It just was the matchups weren't that good. I mean, Baltimore, Houston, that was a couple good teams there, but Houston, good Lord, they're not. That was 31-2. That was a brutal game to watch on Christmas Day. And then the other thing, going back to Netflix, of course they have to get involved in some kind of turducken kind of thing.
Oh, you're getting my pet peeve.
Okay, all right. I'll leave it at that then. I'll leave it right there, Novak. I'll let you do that. But of course, they have to get involved with their own kind of post-game celebration bullshit. So
Yep.
I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving, like Mike said it perfectly. That's been the way it's been for decades. We love Thanksgiving. I love the NFL on that day. Then they got to go to Black Friday. Now they're going to Christmas Day. Like, what are we doing? Are we going to start doing New Year's Eve and New Year's Day? Like, stop it. Just be on Sunday. Have a random game on a Thursday here and there. Monday Night Football, and that's it. Enough.
And you know what the irony is, though, guys? Like, I've always been the more football, the better. Like, I just love again, I'm going back a ways where, like, I just loved watching NFL, but because the product has deteriorated, the viewing experience has freaking gone downhill. That's what makes it painful now, where it's like, knock it off, because the problem is the sports media, the pregame shows, all the bullshit that you have that goes, the product does not even come close in comparison to how they hype the game up. So every one of these, with all these other streaming networks getting involved now, you have twice the amount of commercials. You have three times the amount of Jason fucking Kelsey, whoever else is promoting these games. Enough of these people. That's where I'm at. It's almost not even the game itself, guys. It's actually the networks, the sports media, and the pregame like hype that goes into promoting these games is what I can't tolerate. And it's a weird dynamic, but that's what bothers me the most. It's not even almost the games. It's just all the nonsense. Did you see the Beyonce the halftime show? Okay, I don't know if I'm on your pet peeve here.
No, you're good. Go for it. No, I was not on there.
I mean, I'm watching this, even like as we're sitting around, like you said, families, we're kind of, we're sitting around, everyone, and we're like, is this the Super Bowl halftime show? What am I watching here? I'm a football fan. I'm here to watch football. So when you put those games on major holidays because they're trying to grab a bigger audience, well, then again, it's at the expense of the old hardcore audience and fans like us, because we're dying off. But the NFL is a machine. They're not going to ever. I sound like an old crusty dude, like trying to.
We are.
I know. Because I'm trying to resist this change and kind of just repel it and resist it, and I can't. And it's just, I'm like, back in my day, the NFL, they played on dirt, and
Well, yeah, but look, it's all of it. It's the holidays, it's the streaming channels, it's the international games, it's the Thursday games, the Monday games, it doesn't end. And every year they've got to come up with something new and different. And it's just they're oversaturating this thing. And at some point, I have to imagine they're gonna get some pushback. I do.
Yeah,
you would think.
But they seem to have just a shield of armor.
They do. There's a reason why their logo is a shield, right? They're impenetrable. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it, Novak, of this being a particularly bad week of football. And I take it back to 17 is just too many games. Listen to these scores this week. 29-10, 31-2, 6-3, 40-7, 13-9, 41-7, 48-14, 40-14, 25-10. These games stink. 20-3. I mean, those games are unwatchable.
Terrible. Yeah. The product is bad. They're blowouts. They're boring. You maybe get a game or two a week that's watchable. We went through the whole schedule the last few weeks. It's pathetic. I also wanted to bring up one thing as we look around the league. Cardone, you brought it up in the beginning, and I wanted to bring it up here too. We absolutely have to have a lottery. This playoff, this tanking situation, and if we're going to have this many playoff teams, fine. But you look at the bottom 9 teams, one game separates them.
Yep.
You've got 9 teams with 4 wins or less, and there's no 2-win team. It's 3 and 4. So you're telling me that 9th team is that much better than the number 1 team? They're not.
Not even close.
They're just not. That's the Jets and the Patriots. Patriots beat the Jets. So something's got to be done, and they've got to do something about this. We should not be seeing fans going to games rooting against their team. Shouldn't happen.
No.
And you see it all over the league.
You do. It's an epidemic. It has to stop. We can't just keep doing this. And I know that sounds like on a Giants podcast, that sounds like sour grapes, because we know we're the worst team in football right now. We know we are, and we're not gonna have even a top 3 pick the way it looks. So So yeah, it's frustrating. And again, I think that lengthening, and remember guys, when they put the 17th game in, they warned us then we're not done. I mean, they want more games in here. Now they got so much pushback on having 17, they might have tabled that idea, but with the 17 games, the season's too long. You're out of it. Cause we talked about it ad nauseum through the middle of this season. The bad teams know they're out of it by week 10, and there's 7 more games to play. So it's brutal. I'd be in favor of going back to 14 and expanding the playoffs, but that's the NFL's not going backwards.
You're right, Novak. I'm looking at the league standings here, and like you just mentioned, all the teams that have 4 or less wins. I usually have a pretty good memory with, going back in time with records. Has it been? I don't remember. Has there been this many teams with this
bad
number of losses or less? At the end of the year, it doesn't seem like it. It does not.
And if you look at that list, Cardone, if I remember correctly, again, I don't have it in front of me. You go from a 4-win team, and I think the next there's no like 5 or 6 are in there. You jump up to like a 7-win.
Yeah,
or something, right?
You got one. You got the Saints are 5-11,
okay,
and then
Saints.
If the Niners win tonight, then you go all the way. Yeah, you go to 7-9. So there's a big gap between 7-9 and then 4-12. There's like one team in there, the Saints.
And you usually in the old days when you had 16 games, you had like a ton of 6-10s, a ton of 7-9s, a ton of 5-11s. You go from 4 all the way up to 7, aside from the Saints. It's crazy.
9 teams at 4-12 and 3-13. That is absolutely egregious. I mean, I thought about that again. I'm like, the Giants, as bad as they are, the Jets too. I'm like, my God, how many bad teams are there in this league?
Bad. Terrible.
How can this be? You're going through them. You're like, Christ, the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Bears suck now. The Panthers, like these teams, the league sucks.
Yep.
I know you have to have bad teams, obviously. But it's just, I don't know. And even the top teams you have, it just seems like it drops off, after maybe top 6, and then it just, I don't know, Packers, Rams, and Steelers, Chargers, they're in there. These are playoff teams. They all have double-digit wins, but for some reason, it just seems like there's a drop-off after even some of the top teams, and I don't know. The league is just, it's just a watered-down product.
Well, so Cardone, you said something very interesting there, and I got my investigative hat on about the number of teams. Right, so the 2023 standings, the Carolina Panthers had 2 wins, and then there were 3 teams that had 4, and 1 team that had 5. So that's 6. 6 teams, and those records. I mean, if you look at where we're going right now, we got 9 teams, 8 teams in here with 4 wins. It's like it's like, I don't know, teams are tanking on purpose. What they hit that threshold, and
maybe,
and they become less interested in winning.
And there's a very good chance. Think about it. Like all these teams play. It's all division games this weekend. Like there's a good chance. Like the majority of all these teams could lose again.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a lot of teams with 13 and 14 losses. A lot.
Pathetic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what needs to change more than the NFL? Men. Men need to change. They need to go into 2025 looking at themselves and saying, you know what? I need to look better. I need to do what I can to make myself more presentable, to be a real man. Rugged Uncle has a hair cream with Wagyu beef tallow that smells great, looks great, makes you feel like a real man. And, if you order it, go to ruggeduncle.com and put in Angry Fans, and you will get a 20% discount. Guys, if anyone's listening to this, go into the new year trying to change yourself. Forget the NFL. NFL sucks. Change yourself. Do better. Get Rugged Uncle. Am I right, guys?
Yeah. No, right on. You made me think of when Jerry and George were talking about with Susan's father's cabin. And George said, we could build a cabin. He said, well, not us, but 2 men could.
2 men could. Yeah. What better time? Men. Yeah. What better time than the new year to get some Rugged Uncle, get yourself looking sharp? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Forget about the gym. Forget about joining a gym or exercising. Any of that bullshit.
Stop it with that.
Knock it off.
Yeah. Knock it off.
Yeah. Like
Knock it off.
Just
You're going to quit in
knock
February.
it off. Go fix your hair. Don't worry about
Exactly.
fixing your waistline. We all know that gym memberships that ends after like by 3 weeks into the new year. You're quitting
Yep.
that. You're not going to quit Rugged Uncle. You're not going to quit putting that phenomenal hair paste in your hair. Like, keep your hair looking good. Look good from the neck up. Don't worry about the belly. Who cares?
Exactly.
Love it. They should put that on their cans. Look good
Yeah.
from the neck up.
Look good from the neck up. What?
Well, to keep us on track, we're going to go to Pet Peeves. And since I'm playing Scott, I am not going to go first. So I'm going to let Mike go first. What do you got, Mike?
All right. So I got one this week. If you did watch the Saturday slate of games, in particular, the New England Patriots and the Chargers, right? Yep. So that game was on Saturday, and it was on, one of the NFL Network or something. So they're always scraping the barrel. But there is a new worst announcer I've ever heard out there. Now, that announcing team was Chris Rose and Ross Tucker. Chris Rose has been around.
They're bad.
Yeah.
Rose has been around forever. He's someone I've never particularly enjoyed. He used to do a lot of poker when I watched a lot of poker, and he was bad at that. He's not good in this. But Ross Tucker, guys, I don't know if you had the sound on. Hopefully you didn't. Hopefully you weren't watching. This guy has one volume, and it is scream. He's all the way up at 11. Everything he says, he screams. And the pair of them, I was trying to count how many times they used the word elite.
Oh.
And I had to stop at halftime. I was like, what was it? There was just 4 in a row right there. I can't remember what
elite.
I had. But so the time on the clock was 14 minutes and 53 seconds. So 7 seconds into the first quarter. They used elite 3 times in 7 seconds.
Oh my God.
So that's when I was like, well, they're off to a great start. So they called Herbert elite, which is, okay. He's a really good quarterback. Then they called Drake May elite, which no, not yet. I mean, he looks like he could be pretty good, but he's not elite. And then what I'm like steaming about that, there's the kickoff, 7 seconds come off the clock. The guy who made the tackle on special teams, they called elite, an elite special teamer. So I'm like, man, this is going to be awesome. So we were up near 20 when I had had enough beer and stopped counting at that point. But yeah, so this guy, be on the lookout for him. I don't know if NFL Network has any more games, but Ross Tucker, I'm warning you right now, you will not finish the game with the sound on. Unbearable. Absolutely unbearable. So that's my pet peeve. Chris Rose and Ross Tucker and the overuse of the word elite.
Elite. Which was supposedly reserved for actual elite players back in the day, not too long ago.
Yeah,
the
that's
Drew
a good
Breeses,
point.
the Brady's, the guy, and usually it was reserved really for the quarterback position.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you got that tag, it was pretty special to get it.
Yeah.
Now it's like they're throwing around, showing up trophies for, just being a participant. Elite.
Yeah.
Ironically, they've cheapened the word elite by its own definition. Being elite isn't elite now. So
guys like Eli Manning, he earned 2 Super Bowl MVPs and could barely earn the moniker. I mean, people struggle to call him elite, and some battling and fighting, and some guy making a special teams tackle is getting it 7 seconds into the game.
It was crazy. I don't know.
Again,
it was so bad. I went from, oh my God, these guys are terrible, to angry to comical. Like it crossed over being angry. I just started laughing at the guy.
Well, I was angry for my pet peeve, and it was on Christmas Day, and I happened to tune in to the Chiefs game right at the end because, I didn't want to watch the game because I was so angry that it was on. I was enjoying my family and doing all of the Christmas stuff anyway, so I didn't really want to watch football to begin with, but I did turn it on at the end, and Cardone touched on it, and I had to sit through this uncomfortable, gross display of Mahomes and Kelsey wearing a Santa blazer and
oh my God,
having to take this football and split it in half, and it's made of red velvet cake, and eat it like a turducken. Stop it! But stop it! What are we doing? A red velvet cake and a like a pimp jacket they were wearing. Like, and it was so uncomfortable because they wanted them to eat it, and neither of them wanted to eat the damn thing.
No.
Yeah,
And it was just so stupid. It was so forced. It was so fake, and it made it even worse because it's Mahomes and Kelsey.
Mahomes and Kelsey. But
It
you're
was
right.
gross.
It was this red overcoat that looked
Yeah.
like something you'd find at a Macy's department store in New York City. Only like Christmas week, obviously, you know, with the red bullshit. But you're right. It was sort of like, it was similar to Kramer's Jiffy Park pimp robe.
Coat. Yes, it did. Right?
Yeah, the Technicolor dream coat.
And then
the Technicolor dream coat. You're right.
Yes, that.
That's it.
And it flopped big time. I mean, it was uncomfortable
totally
to watch. And they tried to trot it out again in the Ravens game.
They did it both games.
Yes,
they did.
And those guys too didn't want to eat the damn red velvet cake. Stop it. It's not turducken. That was organic, and it was John Madden, and it was so great, and it was part of Thanksgiving. Stop trying to create something that's not there. It's not.
Love it.
Yeah.
So true.
These things can't be planned in a boardroom 4 months before the games are on. You know,
Right.
That Madden on that Madden show, they told the whole story of the turducken, and you know, he does what he did, like he'd walk around the city to get some flavor of the town, and he found this place making turduckens, and he just made, you know, it was just, hey, I got this cool thing, this turducken, and yeah, now everything is forced. Every decision is made by executives at the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
How can we recapture this lightning in a bottle? You can't. That's again, that's sort of like the same lesson at the end as my pet peeve, Novak. You can't do it that way. You can't just all of a sudden just change the food and expect to catch the same magic.
Exactly.
You know,
are Mahomes and Kelsey really wearing this like Netflix pimp coat? They're gonna throw that in the trash or like donate it, or come on.
Do they get to keep it? Is that what happens?
Of course
they actually
did.
take this thing home?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
it's going to have a place of honor in their homes.
Get out of here with that.
They
Cardone,
both tried to
pet
give
peeve.
that cake. They both tried to give that cake away the minute they turned around. I don't know if you noticed that. They both handed it to someone else and like jogged away.
Did. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm going to go back to an oldie but a goodie on my pet peeve here, because it's a lot of times it's the same pet peeve. It's just a different guy that I'm seeing it be done to or do, and what I mean is, you guys know how I feel about the camera shots of the over ridiculous number of camera shots. We saw it with Robert Saleh, right? And that was, I mean, that turned into like one of our now lifelong gems of entertainment value for the three angry Giant fans and a Jet fan here. But I can't stand. And I'll get to the guy in a second who I'm talking about, but I see a couple things I've noticed, and people who know me know, like, Cardone, like, why does this kind of stuff get under your skin? I can't explain it. It just does. I do the most obscure observations, very Seinfeld-esque, where like, I'm a curious guy. I have to know why you didn't taste the apple pie the other night. You know, when his girlfriend wouldn't taste the apple pie, he couldn't get past it. It's the same kind of thing where I have to understand and know what I'm supposed to do when things happen during a sporting event. So so in the NHL, when a team scores the goal, they immediately show the opposite coach for some kind of reaction, which all he's ever doing is looking up at the fucking scoreboard to see how much time he has left. In baseball, when a guy hits a home run, they immediately show the opposing manager in the other dugout who's just chewing and spitting seeds, like Aaron Boone does. Nothing's going on. So the other night, I don't know if you guys watched I was watching which was actually a good game. We talked about the bad games. Yeah. A decent game was the Redskins and Falcons last night.
That was good.
So it was an exciting game. It was going back and forth. I was into that game, but I don't know if you guys noticed, but late in the game, as Washington and Jaden Daniels, for whatever reason, the Falcons couldn't tackle every time he's scrambling and running around. Every time they converted, they were converting those third and longs that we were talking about, which is another an extension of the pet peeve. I kept getting camera shots of Michael Penix after every single one of these plays that Jaden Daniels did something, and I'm thinking to myself, here we go now. Like, Penix, this is his second career start in this league. I didn't even know what fucking jersey number this guy was 2 weeks ago, and now we have a camera fixated on this guy. as if he's supposed to be doing some kind of monumental reaction as Jaden Daniels is picking up first downs. What is Penix supposed to be doing other than just looking at the field like every other person in the stadium? What is he supposed? Why do I need to see a camera shot of this guy every 2 seconds? It's Michael Penix. Who is he? He was a backup rookie quarterback on the Falcons up until 2 weeks ago, and now I'm getting a camera shot of him every 10 seconds until finally, Washington ended up winning the game. But I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even know I didn't know what number Penix was until last week when he started against the Giants, and now I'm getting camera shots of this jack off every time. And again, nothing against Michael Penix. It's not his fault. He's not the technical director of the NBC last night or whatever. But for some reason, guys, I don't know what it is about the camera shots of the opposing player or whatever it is during the middle of a drive that I have to, where the guy's not doing anything. I could see if there's some reaction like, and wait a minute, there's some kind of scuffle on the Falcons sidelines. What a minute. All right, show it. See what's going on. But when a guy's just standing there, like just doing nothing, what do I have to have a camera fixated on him for? It's stupid. Yeah. It's a pet peeve of mine. It's going to continue to be a pet peeve. I don't know what it is about it, guys. It drives me insane. And I had another pet peeve, but after I seen that one last night, just with Penix now, I noticed it as the game was going on, late in the game. I'm like, I go, here we go now. It's Penix. It started out with Justin Fields years ago, and they just pick a guy. It may be Penix now. Pick a guy. It doesn't matter. Now it's I couldn't believe what I was watching last night with that. Yeah. But
and Penix is the least emotional player I've ever seen.
Exactly.
But so what do they think? Like the technical directors in there going, "Oh, Penix must be seething. Get me a shot of him."
Exactly.
Standing there.
Right. He's just standing there doing nothing. What's he supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing with him as they're showing him as a viewer? I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at. What's exciting?
Maybe learning from Saleh, right? Yeah. They were like, we're gonna get Saleh cam on you. Don't do anything. Just stare straight.
And don't say a word.
Don't say a word. And then maybe by halfway through the season next year, they say, just chew some gum, make it look like you're talking. Something. Do anything.
Something.
Look, it's the NFL trying to force feed this guy down our throats. We know what it is.
We know it.
It's ridiculous. They do it now. They're doing it with him. Bo Nix all of a sudden is like the next Drew Brees. It's that was in my a little bit of my breakdown. It was like, why are they forcing these people down our throats? And they've not done anything. Everyone's forgotten about CJ Stroud.
Yeah,
he's got something.
Forgotten. Yeah. No one talks about him.
He's a scrub now.
A little bit of a bad year. He sucks.
Yeah, he's a bum.
We're on to Penix and Nix.
That's it. And Daniels, don't forget, and Jaden Daniels too. Now he's like the next. He's the exact replica of RG3. I don't know if you saw. He was taking some hits out in the open field. This guy, he's going to get blown up. He's going to get his back broken on one of these tackles. He won't. He's going to be on the IR. He may. That's fine. The rest of this year, here we are. Going to the playoffs. Hey, kudos to him. He's got his team in the playoffs, but he's going to be just like RG3. He'll be scrambling and running around doing something, and he'll get blown up, and he'll be his season will be over. That's inevitable.
Agreed.
I think you're spot on with that, and I think a lot of people thought early on the comparison with RG3 was lazy because he just happened to get picked by the Redskins. But you're dead on right. I don't care if he's playing for the Atlanta Falcons or if he was playing for the Colts. I would be saying this guy is RG3, and he's good enough, but he's not going to last out there.
Agreed. I don't know how he's making the plays he is, like with his legs, because he's not even. He's certainly not Mike Vick, out in the open field, and he's not even Randall Cunningham back in the day, where like these were guys that you could not bring down to the ground. You couldn't.
Yeah.
With Daniels, I don't see it. I'm like, what's so difficult about tackling this guy? He's not that big. I don't think he's that fast.
Yeah, he's just slippery. He's just slippery, man. He is fun to watch. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we had a ton of questions, so we'll kind of go through these a little bit rapid fire. The first question we got, and this is all three of us need to answer this. If you could play owner, not what you think the Giants are going to do, if you were the owner, what GM, coach, and quarterback combination do you want next year?
Man.
I can go first since I had the luxury of seeing this question ahead of time.
Yeah.
For the Jets, I've thought a lot about this, like where do they need to go? And I have come to the conclusion that they do not need someone like Riverboat Just stop it with that. The Jets, if they're ever going to change the culture of this organization, they need to get the coach first and foremost. And the coach needs to be a John Gruden, a Mike Vrabel, maybe Flores as my third choice, someone that's got a little bit of a sort of an edge to him that's going to get this organization back to where they need to be. I think you get the coach in there with the GM, where they can pick their GM, that they feel comfortable working with. I thought I'd want to bring the Dick back, but I just can't anymore. I just think he is a cancer for so many reasons. He just needs to move on. And for next year, we're not going to get a rookie quarterback in there. Get a bridge guy in there, Marcus Mariota, it's Ryan Tannehill, whoever Vrabel or Gruden, whoever is comfortable with. Let that be our quarterback for a year, and just try to get to the playoffs and end this drought. That's all I care about. So that's my answer for the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my answer for the Giants would be pretty similar, Novak. I mean, I don't want to, copycat your answer, but I was thinking about that, and same thing where I don't know if I had the choice. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. Like I don't know what it would cost to get like a Kirk Cousins. I mean, I don't know what his fate's going to be right now.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just throwing his name out there just because, like you said, I'm just trying to use a bridge quarterback. I think because if and we've talked about it. I'm not in love with Sanders or Ward in the draft either. And where the Giants end up picking, who the fuck knows where they're even going to be selecting now after next week's games and stuff. So I don't know. Do we go and try to get a? Do we keep Daboll? I think for Giant fans, myself, is Daboll? Do we give him at least another year? Mike. What is his contract? I don't even know what his contract is right now. Is he under another?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question.
I'm not even sure.
I think he's got a 5-year contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Does he?
So he's been this is year 3.
I think I'd be okay with Daboll coming back another year. Because the circumstances this year was just they had to separate themselves from Jones. That's not the wrong move, even though there's nothing behind him. But we couldn't go any along with that. I think I'm okay with Daboll for at least one more year.
And then bringing Shane back too,
I guess, and God, I mean, I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think at this point, as maybe I don't know if I'm completely ready to. I've said it on this pod a number of times. Fire everybody, get rid of everybody, blow it up, implode. But I'm always the kind of guy. Also, when I hear that, when people tell me that about whether it's the Giants or could be the Yankees, Knicks, whoever it is. My follow-up question is always I try to be clever. Like, well, who do you want?
Right.
And there's never an answer. Yep. Well, then where are you going to go? So if I don't have an answer to who else, I guess for that. So if I'm answering the question, I would say you got to roll Daboll and Shane back. I think for one more year, and maybe try to get a bridge quarterback until they really get the guy that we want. And if it's out of the draft, we'll see. I don't know, but maybe I could live with, like you mentioned, a couple other guys, Mariota and Tanner. I could live with a Kirk Cousins. I don't want to pay the world for him, but shit, we did that with Jones, right? I don't even know. Like, this is where I need Scott to come in with how much cap space we have and shit, because I don't know. I don't follow that crap. I mean, I probably should. I'm on this pod, and as a Giant fan, I should be paying attention more to cap space and all that bullshit.
The cap space is not in the equation, so you're going Shane, Daboll, and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, that question changed a little bit with the Giants winning that game the other day, because I would have. I mean, I was very heavily leaning toward what I would want to do with the draft and the GM and the coach and the quarterback would be clean the house, trade the pick, and that's what I wanted to do up till now. Now, I don't think I want to trade the 4th pick. We'll stay there and get whatever falls to us. There's a lot of people now speculating that someone like Jalen Milroe could fall into the 2nd round. He was being talked about among the best just a couple of months ago. So, who knows? But Cousins or who else is going to be available is Darnold. If Minnesota, depending on how they finish this thing out. I mean, I think if he wins the Super Bowl, he gets re-signed and doesn't become an issue. But he could be out there. Cousins, Darnold, just someone like that who we could get some wins with while we have to draft a quarterback in this draft. There's no question about it. It might be in the second or third round the way things are looking, and it might be someone who we feel is not ready to play right away. And that it's not like every team that has a good quarterback just drafted him in the top 3 and plugged him in and he was immediately great. There's plenty of guys who were drafted in later rounds who sat for a while or later picks and later rounds, I should say. So now that I've made my short answer long, I agree now with the Dable, Shane, Darnold, Cousins path. I think that's the way for this team to go right now. If I had a list in front of me of people who might be available as GMs, I might be able to give an answer to that, but I really don't know. The only name I've heard mentioned is the Jerry Reese. I think I'd take Jerry Reese over Shane right now. But, as I've said all year, and no matter what the circumstances have been of all this, my gut tells me Brian Dable's a good football coach. I don't know if it's because he looks like one, and I don't know.
Yeah. I would add to you guys, I think this win on Sunday changed everything, because I would have said, as an outsider, I would have gotten rid of Shane and Dayball had they continued to lose and losed out, and you would start fresh with new GM, new coach, new quarterback. Now that you've won, and you're not going to get one of those two. You're just not.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I think that now you go into next year with these guys, with the edict, you got to win 9 games. And then the year out, if they suck again, then they're gone next year. But I think that win, changed everything for you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do. I completely agree with that. I think that win changed a lot of things, and here we are now. But I do think this. My heart tells me that us missing out on specifically those 2 quarterbacks, if that's what we were going to do, could be a blessing long term.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying into those 2. I'm just not.
All right. So for the other questions, we got the Peacock Corner. We sort of answered his first one. Does Barkley go for rushing record to stick it to the Giants? I think we've all agreed that he probably won't, and we think that he's not going to play in this week. The second question was, if you get Travis Hunter, you would have to sign a stopgap QB for 25. Who would you do? So, we kind of mentioned that too. Talked about Kirk Cousins, someone like that. Right? Unless you guys can think of any other stopgap quarterback, should you not get a quarterback with your pick?
No, I mean, I was going through the list of quarterbacks that might be available. It is a shit show.
It is not good.
It is.
It's really not good.
You could go Andy Dalton. You could, something like that. You could probably sneak in there, but
Taylor Heineke.
Right. I mean, it's just so bad.
They're better than Drew Lock, though.
They're better. Maybe.
I don't know.
Pretty good on Sunday.
Again, yeah, that game, I'm not counting that game. That was my other potential pet peeve, is when they're doing the highlights and Terry Bradshaw is like, Giants need a quarterback? How about this guy? Look at Drew Lock. I'm like, knock it off. Okay, because last week you were like couldn't mock the guy enough as we should have. And then a week later, everything's all fixed. Drew Lock's our guy. Shut up. That was my second pet peeve. I still managed to get in.
His third question is for me. Name one good reason why Rodgers deserves to play another year. Guy is a tool in the locker, and his talent has diminished. I would agree with you, Peacock, on both of those fronts. But if I'm going to give you a reason why, it's what we just talked about. There's not many better options out there.
Just isn't.
So if the Jets can get a new coach in here and a new GM and change this culture and sit the dick down and say, listen, this is my show. You want to play one more year and get your 500th touchdown and get back in the good graces and change the end of your career around again, you're going to listen to what I say and you're going to fall in line. If he can do that, I actually would want the dick back. I just don't think he could do it. I think he would say sure, and you'd say all the nice things, but I think once the season starts, he'd go back to being who he is and being on McAfee and taking ayahuasca and doing all that other crap that he does. Another question from someone named Mike, who's a friend of Scott's. There's an unexpected Giants win. I'd like to ask one football question this week. Both the Giants and the Jets need a franchise quarterback. We've all heard it said in its relatively weak draft class among big name QBs. Why not take a day 2 flyer on a guy who has been playing well in obscurity? What the likes of Phil Simms, Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, Kurt Warner, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's kind of what I just talked about, right? I mean,
Yep.
I've mentioned it since the middle of the season on this podcast. I have a man crush on Jackson Dart. I think that guy's a good quarterback.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So, and as Novak's mentioned before, when I brought his name up, we've done all right with the Ole Miss quarterback. So,
yep.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be someone that, the Giants organization just has just a good feeling about, right? Or knows more than me, someone like me. Of course, they thought that with Daniel Jones. They went up, they gave up a lot, or they risked, a high draft pick for Jones, and certainly kind of missed on that. So I don't know. It's a good question. I think there's always you don't always know. And one thing that I've learned over the years is these experts, they're not experts.
No.
The guys that break down who's going to be, where these guys should fall. I think we have a tendency to give those experts too much credit, way too much credibility. So I'm okay. Maybe you can find your franchise quarterback in the second, third round. I don't know. I certainly, as a fan, I'm at the point, guys, where I said this on the pod a number of weeks ago. I'm so desperate. I am willing to try anything at this point. Just make it look different than what's being put on the field right now. So, yeah, it's anything that is something to break this trend of what the Giants have been doing, for the last number of years, because it's not working. So anything that looks different, I'd be okay to at least freaking trot it out there to see what can happen.
Boy, I just couldn't agree any more with that. I don't really. If you want to have another shitty season, do it. Make it look different. Do something.
Do something.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll say this too. I think a second, third round quarterback who sits for 2 years has a better chance of success than someone drafted number 1 overall who they force feed in on week 1. We've seen it time and time again. These guys are not ready to play. And the ones that have the luxury of sitting, Jordan Love, Patrick Mahomes, right? These guys, and this is why I would be afraid for you if you took a quarterback 1, because you got Daboll and Shane on a short leash. They're going to force feed him in, whoever it is, and he's going to not be successful.
Yep.
But give me a day 3 guy, and the Jets do have Jordan Travis on the roster. They drafted him in the 4th round. Now, forget the gruesome injury. I mean, if he came out this year, is he as high as Shedeur Sanders? I think so. Why not? He was good last year. So I would rather do that personally. So I agree with Mike. Great question. All right. So now we've got some rapid fire questions, non-football related. Are we ready?
Oh, we're so ready.
All right. Name one character, each from Seinfeld and The Office, who could have worked just as well on the other show.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to go with Costanza as a salesman. I mean, he already was a salesman for Costanza Computers and Sons, if you guys remember.
That's right.
Yep.
I can just see him sitting next to Dwight and Jim there, and hello, Mr. Finneman, you want to buy some paper? No, why not? Okay, good answer. And then having to report that to Michael, so I can see Costanza definitely as a sales guy at Dunder Mifflin, no question.
That's a good answer.
Really good answer.
It is a good answer. The first thought that came to my head was I could see Andy on Seinfeld, like Andy from The Office, calling people tuna. He
Andy
calls
Bernard.
me what I ate. Yeah. And Jerry would be like, I don't. This guy, the food neighbor. Yeah, I had a tuna sandwich at lunch. Now he calls me Big Tuna.
Tuna.
I actually could see Kramer in The Office. How great would he be with Dwight?
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
As a buddy sitting next to him, Kramer being as goofy as he is and Dwight as serious as he is, I think that would be nonstop comedy with those two.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. And if I had to go the other way, Creed. Oh my God, Creed. Well, Creed definitely like hanging out in Kramer's apartment. Like those guys would be buddies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Getting into God knows what. They'd be the ones. I just replace Creed with like Newman, like when they went for the bottle deposit, like in Michigan. You could see Creed coming up with that scam. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah, remember, and there's a character in Seinfeld who we never got to see. So I think Creed could have been like Bob Sacamano.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes, that's very good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And,
Creed making
if I-
lewd, sexist remarks about Elaine or who with other female characters and stuff. You can see that.
And going the other way, I would say Ryan could be Darren the intern for Cramerica.
Yes.
Early days Ryan could
Absolutely.
definitely
Yeah.
do that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go there.
That's a good
All
one.
right, number 2. What sports did you guys play in high school and or college or still play in adulthood? And which sports do you wish you tried when you were younger?
Well, I like that question.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
I wish I've said this before. I wish I got into golf at a younger age. I really wish. And so growing up, right? So Novak and I, again, for listeners, we went to the same high school. We grew up in the same town. We're a couple of years apart, but golf wasn't a real popular sport.
Nor were you popular if you played golf.
Exactly. So that was another big thing. But yeah, but my uncle Dan, he was a golfer, and and he tried to get my brother and I into golf at a younger age. But we played team sports.
Yep.
We played. Greg played football at RBC. I did play a couple years at Middletown South, but not till later, which I kind of regretted too, because I wish I had gotten into it, freshman year of football, because Novak and I went to a big high school.
Yeah.
The football team was huge. There were like 100 guys in a locker room. Back in the days where there was a no cut policy, so the team was already established. So to try to weasel my way in, coming in, not playing until my junior year was really tough. So I did play football and I played baseball my freshman year, and I think the start of in sophomore year too. But I wish I played golf. I didn't get into that until later in life. And Middletown South had a golf team, if you remember Novak. We did.
Yeah,
we did.
They were actually pretty good.
It was. But it was something you never thought about, because you played.
That was like social suicide if you.
No doubt. You played team sports. All the weirdos and nerds played golf. Like weirdos, nerds. You didn't know. You didn't even know who. First of all, you didn't know you had a golf team, and then you're like, who the hell is on the golf team?
You saw them in the yearbook, and like, oh
you saw them in the yearbook.
Team?
You're like, what was this?
Those were honor students, straight A's. I never sniffed that. You know what I mean? I was just So I'm like, who are these guys? We have a golf team, but that's a good question. If I could go back now, I would have loved to. I didn't pick up golf until late teens, and then just played for fun and stuff, and then picked it up. But man, I would love to. Now, with as popular as golf is, I wish I picked it up when I was 12 and got good by the time I was in high school, and could have played on a golf team, kind of thing. I would love to have done that.
Yeah, golf is definitely one of those things that would, if you were good at it, like really good, that game is awesome. But I just could never get good. But I did play football, not very well. I started really like getting into the nuts and bolts of the NFL and college football and all this stuff after high school, really. I mean, I love the Giants all the way through, but I never really like dissected the game, so I immediately regretted, like when I was 21, 22 years old, thinking, God, I wish I could go back now and play knowing everything that I know now. I looked at, I knew what I was supposed to do on every play, but I didn't know why. I just went where the coach told me to go, So I did play football. I played baseball when I was young, and I gave up. I quit at baseball, and I wish I regretted that from day one. I should have stuck with baseball. It was pretty good. And but I gave that up. Pretty much the only thing I played through high school was football. But I always wished, and I still wish this today, I always wished I played hockey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I know.
Hockey's good too.
I didn't have much of an excuse. We're in New York. There's rinks everywhere, but I never even learned to ice skate. So it would have been tough. I would have had to pick up the ice skating part first, and then apply it to hockey. So yeah. But I thought that would be a fun game to play. As I got older and fatter, I said, well, maybe I could still be a goalie. But
I played basketball and baseball in high school. Basketball all 4 years, baseball 3, and then I made the stupid mistake of, focusing on basketball, even though I was a better baseball player than I was a basketball player. I agree with Cardone. I would have gone the golf route. But, like I said, there was social suicide back then, in those days, if you were playing golf. It's like you were a pariah. So no. And I'll answer this for Scott. Scott was an excellent baseball player and still is. I've seen him play on a couple softball teams. He is an incredible baseball player, and I'm sure that would be his answer. I'm going to answer for him. I think he would have gone the golf or hockey route,
Yeah.
knowing him. But
Hockey
so
for sure. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
All right, pick one. If you could sing or play guitar on a professional level, any and all styles, which one would you choose, singer or guitar player?
Guitar.
Can I
I've
go
tried
off
to
the
teach
board and say
myself
drums?
guitar. Drums,
Yeah.
yeah, those
Sure.
would be cool. I've tried to teach myself guitar so many times. It looks like something fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, if I'm sticking to the question, definitely guitar over being lead singer. Or being frontman be kind of cool too, but something about being lead guitar. I'd still rather be the drummer in the back there.
Yeah.
If I had my choice.
Drummers
You know?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drummers are all a little crazy. Yeah.
No doubt. The only thing about drums though, like it's a lot of shit to pack and unpack though. For
Yeah,
every
but you're going
show.
to be rich. How would someone do that for you?
True.
Right.
That's true. I was couple friends with a couple buddies they're pretty good drummers. One guy still plays in a band. A buddy of mine used to live here in Charlotte. He's on the West Coast now. He that's one thing he always says that he hates is breaking down a drum set at the end of the night. It takes forever. But no, I would still still go with the drums and or guitar for sure. Bass guitar.
I would actually go singer. I
Wow.
mean, I would like to be the front man. Why not? Right? Axl Rose is one of my favorite front men of all time, and Robert Plant. Yeah, I would go singer, but that's just me.
Gosh,
Nice.
guys, you see what's happening here, don't you?
What's that?
We're getting a band together. We got a singer, a guitar player,
Right.
and a drummer.
We got all the
If Scott
pieces.
If Scott will play bass for us, we're in.
We
That's all
got
we
the
need.
pieces.
Well, Scott has sang a couple of times on this podcast, and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
probably,
That's
and
right.
It's while pretty bad, he's probably the best singer of the four of us. But
It might be.
all right, the last question was I've been meaning to ask a serious question about the podcast. The Jets and Giants have had consecutive shitty seasons. Has that impacted your numbers, or has the audience grown despite the losing? Scott would have been the perfect person to answer this question, but what I will tell you from what he has told me is that our listener downloadership went up significantly this year versus last year. And this year we got a lot more YouTube views than we did last year. So I believe it's going up. I would want Scott to confirm that, but my understanding is that it has gone up this year.
That's what I am led to believe as well.
We're constantly angry. I mean, we have the Jets and Giants give us a ridiculous amount of content each and every week. Each year. So that's one good thing. That's one thing my buddies always text is like, hey, at least it's more content for the pod Cardone. I'm like, oh, we don't need any more. I mean, we got enough. So
plenty of content.
But
sometimes
good question.
Losing brings. I have a gut feeling that losing brings audience. People want to come and know that other people are angry and pissed off about this nonsense too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. Rush Limbaugh would always say that by far his ratings were double what they were when there was a Democrat in office.
Yep.
No one wanted to go listen to the preach to the choir. They all wanted to be mad.
No doubt.
So it's probably along the same lines.
Well, Howard Stern always used to say,
yes,
people listen because they don't like him, but they want to hear what he had to say. And I'm not saying that they don't like us, but you want to hear what we have to say when these teams lose. And look, when we were delayed by a couple of days, a couple of weeks ago, we were getting some angry texts like, "Where the hell's the podcast?" I use it on a workout in the morning. So
that was my fault.
While fun, while disappointed that we angered some people, it was kind of fun to know that people cared. So that was good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
no doubt.
So that's all the questions. You guys have anything else?
I don't think so.
I'm looking at a mock draft here with the current. That's all up to date. That's all current. It's actually on Tankathon. If anyone wants to go look, it's kind of a cool thing. But this has the Giants taking Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, at number 4, which he's an awesome player. And then in the second round, grabbing Jalen Milroe at 35.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now, we've talked about this. We talked about it tonight too. By the time the draft comes, Jalen Milroe and Quinn Ewers and everyone else are going to be so overhyped that they're going to sneak into the end of the first round.
Yep.
It just happens every single year if it's something that you pay attention to. is, right now everyone's kind of, Jalen Milroe and these guys have fallen to the second and third round. Jackson Dart, who I just talked about, the quarterbacks will be so overhyped for this draft that they will be like this mock draft in particular here has 2 quarterbacks selected the entire first round, Sanders and Ward, 2 and 3.
2 and 3
after the Patriots take Travis Hunter. And yeah, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be just 2 first-round quarterbacks taken. That's impossible to even fathom.
I know.
Not in this day and age.
I was being asked about, Carson Beck today, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Example.
Yeah. You mentioned Jackson Dart earlier, Mike. I don't know. I don't love with any of these guys. That's the whole thing. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here it is. I'm certainly not in love with Drew Lock and Tommy fucking DeVito. So it's so that I know for sure. I may not know what I have in these guys that's on the mock board here. What I do know is that the guys that are currently on the quarterback depth chart for the New York Football Giants are grotesque. So I know that much. So whatever we're gonna replace these guys with, it's an upgrade or something because
that's in the bank. We know these guys stink.
Yeah. Again, I don't love anybody on the board, but I don't.
No.
I love the current roster a lot less than what's on the board.
Well, I think that's probably why we're not quite as angry as. Can you imagine if this were a Trevor Lawrence
Arch
year
Manning.
or
my
Arch
God.
Manning, Peyton Manning year, where there was just a guy up there that was a no miss prospect, and this happened?
Andrew
I would vomit.
I'd be beside myself.
Yeah.
That's what I had with Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Trevor Lawrence, debatable, but at the time, he was a no miss. I was distraught.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yep.
You're right. You're right. I do have a couple more quick things. Number one, I spent Sunday with my daughter and her roommate and her roommate's father, and I said, "Are you going to give us a shout out on the podcast?" So I'm doing that. So Caitlin and Maggie, it was awesome. We had a great time. They made hors d'oeuvres. They did the whole thing for us, and we had a dad-daughter night. It was a great time. So thank you, Caitlin and Maggie.
That's
that was
awesome.
Great.
Nice.
You're going to make them listen to the whole podcast to hear that, though, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. I was going to do the shout out right off the bat. I'm like, no, they're going to listen to the whole damn thing.
They're going to listen.
I do believe they listen. And I drank out of a 3 Angry Giant fan and a Jet fan Pilsner glass
nice.
that they had gotten from the Live Pod.
From the that's right. Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And the last thing is, just want to say, it's our last pod for the year. It's been a great year 2024. You think of all the changes that we've had as the podcast, from a new logo, website, a live pod. We went around the table at Christmas saying, what was your favorite day of the year? One of mine was the live podcast. Just really enjoyed that. It's been a big year for us, and I can't thank all the listeners enough, and of course have to thank our leader, miss him incredibly, because this job sucks. Scott, hopefully he'll be back next week, but guys, I just want to say it's been a great year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I echo
said.
all that. And hats off to Novak tonight, by the way, for
No
stepping
doubt.
in short notice and just knocking the ball right out of the park. I mean, we missed you, Scotty. We missed you, but but Novak filled in admirably today.
Scott,
so great job, Scott.
I am like
Scott will be proud of us, but Novak, man, great job. Thanks for taking over tonight, man. Awesome job.
Thing. I'm like the week 17 Drew Lock of the podcast world. So
just don't turn the ball over. Just don't turn the ball over.
That's right. Well, wishing everyone a happy new year, ready for 2025. These godforsaken seasons will be over, and we'll start focusing on the playoffs, and that'll be a fun ride too. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Happy New Year, everybody.